Hey everyone. The month of February is over. 2 months down the drain in 2021. Time flies by when you're having fun, right? So let's look right now at the March 2021 units. After being pretty much spot on with the Neovision predictions for this month, I'm hoping, or I'm fairly certain, they will land 100% in the next month. So let's check it out. First unit, we might get her next week, but I suggest we don't, but we'll see, is Neovision Mazurka. She's a story event unit, and a pretty bad one at that. Let me just get this out right away. So a Trust Master is a materia, 20% wind, ice, earth, light resistance, and 50% magical and physical plant killer, which is really cool for dark visions, but we'll get to that. Super Trust Master is a spear, two-handed spear, which is bad. At 198 attack, 1.1 to 1.5x variance, and it provides 100% jump damage. Her vision card, base 40 attack, base 100 attack, which is good. She also has a 100% spear attack when wearing a spear, which is pretty cool for units such as Edgar. Oh no, in total she has 130, and all of them are tied to spears without... let's rephrase this. The Dealy X has stopped working. Okay, so she gets 100% attack from wearing spears and 30% additional attack for just being an FFBE unit. So for units such as, well, Edgar still gets the 100%. I believe Edgar is Final Fantasy 6, if I'm not mistaken. Is he 6? I don't know. I believe he is. Anyway, it's still a good material for someone like Edgar, who's wearing spears anyway. But yeah. Base form, Mazurka is a fire physical attacker with Stardust Ray and Aurora Ray chains. And in shift form, she's a Dragoon with literally 2 abilities. It is going to be the shortest ability list you'll ever see when I banner review Mazurka. So naturally, she doesn't have any chains in her Brave Shift. But I'll be honest, I like her sprite. I like it. So how good is she? Let's start with the good side of things, because that is shorter. So she has 2 stacks of Mirage for the party on an awakenable ability, so you can actually spam this every turn. But it's not a saving grace, to be honest. She also has 150 plant killer in one of her abilities and a built-in Nephesite, which is cool, but again, you're probably not gonna use her ever. And the bad, needs to be built for true dual wield, but she doesn't have a 6x cap. And even if you build her for true dual wield with Neovision Lightning's S tier Mar, she's still far below Edgar in damage. And that is because she's a true double hand Dragoon, and unless they suddenly buff true double hand Dragoons sometime down the line, spoiler, they didn't in JP, she will never see use. She has the 150 plant killer I mentioned, but it's only for herself. So you need Mastermind Zone to copy it and spread it to the party. And we have better units for that. I believe, wasn't it Neovision Laswell who also had plant, or was it Insect? I'm not quite sure. Or in any case, we got Neovision Awakened Infernal Fire Rain. Or Rain Neovision, they also have plant killer available. So if you want plant killers, there's better options available right now. She has no weapon peril, which is a huge downside compared to Edgar, who has a spear in peril. A bare bones kit with literally 2 abilities. And the party resistances she provides, they are bound to her provoke ability, which you will no way in hell use ever, unless you want to ruin your whole run. Or you build her for evasion. That might be a road you may want to take, but then again, you're using Mastermind Zone you're very likely to use Mastermind Zone, so He's gonna be our passive provoke evasion guy. You don't need her. And that concludes, should you pull? No. Simple as that. Get Edgar, go for true dual wield, profit. You're better off. Mazurka still has pretty strong burst, mind you, but she is far, far, far below Edgar. Let's then move on to our tank that we'll be getting probably next week. It makes sense to release Snow right after Near Vision Lightning. Snow's attached to Sarah, so we'd have 2 weeks of Final Fantasy XIII. It's the most logical thing to do. But we all know Gumi, they will probably just release the story event and, well, not make any sense at all. But anyway, Snow, a tank. His Trustmaster is a material of static 750 HP, which I believe is entirely new. We don't have that many, or not at all, materials that have static, which means it is not base. That is a huge difference. Keep in mind, base HP, for example, that is modified by HP percent, etc. But static HP, it is just added on top with no modifications. It's still cool, 750 static HP, nice. The material also provides 40% defense and spirit, which is pretty cool. And his Super Trustmaster is a fist with 175 defense, 175 spirit. It's okay, I guess. I mean, Gibranth and Snow, they scale with defense, for example, for their abilities. So it's good. It's a good amount. Vision card, base 500 HP, base 30 def, base 30 spirit, and at level 10 it's 1k HP, 60 defense, 60 spirit each, base of course. So that is a strong vision card, and funnily enough, it's not that bad. I mean, it's pretty cool for, say, himself, but it might also have some applications for other units as well. Such as Lightning, if I'm not mistaken. Does Lightning want this? If she's tanking, maybe. Yeah, I guess you could use this on Lightning too if she's tanking, but I wouldn't use Lightning as a tank. But anyway, passive at level 4, 20% HP if... Oh, I made a mistake. It should read fist, not first. Let me correct that. I'll cut the video in... oh no, I'm not gonna cut it. I'll just edit in a note that this should mean fist, not first. Oops, I didn't see that mistake at all. And 20% HP when wearing an axe. You're very unlikely to use an axe because there is not that many good axes, so you're probably gonna use his fist anyway. And at level 10 he gets a 50% equipment defense with or without any shield. The same applies to spirit, which is cool, which is really cool, boosting his defense even further. Now, and I will add also, I should also add in whether this is true double hand or true dual wield. I'm not quite sure, but I think this is true double hand. I will add in a little text on the side, probably somewhere over here, stating whether this is TDH or TDW. I'm sorry for that hiccup, I should have checked. That was entirely my mistake. Anyway, in base form, he's an LB gauge based tank, physical based tank, I should say, and in shift form, he's an LB gauge based magic tank. He doesn't have any chains as well, so he's fairly unique in that regard. So how good is he? Snow has 90% general mitigation if you can fill 48 LB crystals every 2 turns. This is super strong, 90% general mitigation. The difference between 85 to 90 is roughly 50% less damage taken. It is huge. But the bad thing is he needs a lot of babysitting for this to work. And at that point you might ask yourself, is it really worth using Snow over, say, Gebranth, who is super self-sufficient, or Phasey when Snow's brave shifting. Phasey is also super self-efficient. But again, if the team is built around Snow, he's super good. But again, you have to build a team around Snow, whereas with Phasey or Gebranth, you just add them on top of your team, and they don't need outside help with their job. That is the good thing about this. Snow has huge bulk, he has defense and spirit break resistance, and he can buff himself up with 300 defense and spirit, which is huge. For example, Phasey only has 250 if I'm not mistaken. Gebranth also doesn't have 300, so that is really strong compared to Phasey or Gebranth. But again, he needs babysitting, a lot of it. And in general, Snow is considerably weaker than, say, Phasey when coming to terms with magic tanking. And he really doesn't do anything else other than face tanking. He cannot really chain support because he doesn't have any chains. He doesn't have considerable buffs for the party, for example, such as Phasey, who has Lagoon Shell, giving everyone resistances or healing ripples, filling everyone's LB gauge. That's not what Snow does, and this makes him a lot weaker than Phasey. The same applies to Gebranth. Gebranth does also many other things, such as break gauge breaking. Snow doesn't do any of that, and he just wanna get smashed in the face and take it like a true man, so I'm not really sold on Snow, if I'm being honest. So should you pull? If you have Gebranth, Neo Vision that is, you may as well skip Snow. You really don't need it. From my point of view, Snow feels like a really memey magical or physical tank with absolutely no party support. If you're a fan of Snow, sure, go ahead for him, but neither for Trials nor for Dark Vision is he going to really help you out. I'd always put Gebranth or Phasey over him in any case. I don't really mind about the 90% general mitigation. I just gear my Gebranth or Phasey differently, and it's probably going to be fine as well. There's no trial coming up that really warrants using Snow. So the only thing he's really got going for him is the superb 90% general mitigation, but again, it really needs a lot of outside babysitting, which limits unit choices. So in conclusion, I'd skip, and I will skip Snow. And I'm not gonna have any regret doing it. Next up is my personal favorite of the bunch that we are getting in March, Neo Vision Faris. She's a wind evocation finisher and a super strong one at that. So her Trustmaster is a materia with 40% attack magic and 30% evocation magic. And that is not as bad as it sounds, it is pretty good even. Her Super Trustmaster is a sword, much like Neo Vision Terra, and that sword gives her 160 attack, 185 magic and 50 evo magic, which is a huge difference compared to Terra, who has evocation damage, so keep that in mind. Vision card, 35 base attack and 50 base magic, so as you can see, she heavily leans into the magic side of things. That's why the reason for that is her base form is the actual evocation finisher, and in the shift form she becomes a fire physical finisher or chainer. You could actually chain with her too. So that is the reason why all of this also has attack attached to it. At level 10, 65 attack, 90 base magic. At the passives at 4 and 7 you get 30% attack and magic. If you're wearing a sword, might be Terra sword, might be her own. And at level 10, she gains 20% attack magic and 30% evocation damage. And the only requirement, and like this, is female only. And yeah, So she's the Wind Evocation finisher in base with Chaos Wave and Graviton Cannon, if I'm not mistaken, is GC chains. So you'd rather probably use Chaos Wave because there's very few GC chainers. In a shift form, she's an absolute mirror of equity fire physical finisher. So, how good is she? She's a huge evoke finisher. Slightly below Near Vision Terror, mind you, but she has 130 wind, fire, and water imperils, which is very strong. Terror only has a 120 fire imperil, for example. She has Barrage, which is not a meme. I'm not memeing on this. It is a cool thing because Barrage helps you out using destroying break gauges. We don't get many bosses with break gauges, and especially not in Dark Visions, but more units with innate Barrage is always welcome, kind of. She has the 6x chain mod cap, 50 fire, which I find really strong. She has a 50% fire amp in her Brave Shift, which is huge. And it also helps her Brave Shift to actually deal some really strong damage. And what I also like about her, she is kind of rogue compressing. You have to Brave Shift with her to actually get the best possible LB damage increase for her base form, which also implies you can use her breaks. Because her Brave Shift Limit Burst provides 85 breaks to all. So you might actually not use a breaker anymore because Faris is not only an evocation finisher in base, but she also breaks the boss or the enemy by 85%. Pretty cool, but from my point of view, you should use Lightning anyway as she has 90% Spirit Break and the Spirit Break is what she cares about. The bad things about Faris is she has no wind amplification, and I think that is a huge oversight or on purpose. So they want you to use Warrior of Light Bards, who has a 45% wind amplification on one of his abilities, and pairing Faris with Bards, I think, I'm not quite sure, I haven't done the math, but it might actually turn out that Faris combined with Bards might deal more damage than Terra. I will check this, and if that is the case, I will write it in the comments or in the video description. But Faris is super strong, especially when paired with Bards. I guess the meta for March and going forward until we get Oracle Luna Freya is going to be Faris, Bards, and whatever. Because Bards can imbue everyone with wind and also amplifies everyone with wind by 45%. That is so strong, and we will talk about Bards in a Neo Vision Awakened video later today. So yeah, Faris super strong, especially when paired with Bards, but she has no innate wind amp, which I find is an oversight. And what I also don't like about Faris is that she is clunky to use. She has to shift into the inferior Brave Shift to apply the 250 LB buff for 3 turns. However, the cooldown to go from Brave Shift to normal is also 3 turns. You are locked to the Brave Shift. So that is a little bit unless I'm mistaken on the wording on the wiki, but I believe the wiki says cooldown to normal, meaning you are in Brave Shift, and cooldown to normal, it states 3 turns. Maybe I'm reading this wrong, but this is what the wiki says, and if that is true, you have to wait 3 turns to get back into the base form, just like, what's her name? Starlight Elena has to wait a few turns to go back to her base form when she Brave Shifts. You cannot manually shift back. And I don't like this mechanic. It's super clunky to use and just unnecessarily stalls the fight. So should you pull? Now, if you missed Neo Vision Terror and regret everything, this is your second chance. Please don't come to my videos and cry about missing another evocation finisher because you didn't know Faris was this strong. Faris is super strong, but don't fret if you don't have the Lapis because we all know which collab we're gonna get next. We are getting Oracle Luna Freya in April, very likely in April. She might be May, I'm not quite sure. But Oracle Luna Freya is a huge power creep to Faris. And by huge, I mean she's literally dealing twice the amount of damage. So skipping Faris is an okay option, mind you, but then again, evocation damage dealers, they are super hard to gear. If you don't have the STMRs, you actually can't skip them, because without the STMRs, without evocation damage, amplification, etc., you won't get much out of them. That's the same for every evocation mage, Draconian Princess Fina, Wolf Adele that we're getting in March, Terra, Faris, Luna Freya, Diverti, and what have you. They all heavily rely on full STMR slots, and if you don't have that, yeah, I can understand skipping. But again, if you have the gear and skip Faris and also skip Luna Freya, well, that's on you. Okay, but again, like I said, she is a little bit clunky to use due to a Brave Shift to power up the base form. I don't like the concept at all. I'd rather have the other way around, power up in base, shift to Brave Shift, and then burst it all away. The Terra way, pretty much, or the Tifa way before we got Terra. But then, in conclusion, she has super high evocation damage with very high gearing requirements. Again, basically almost all of it is going to be STMRs, and especially rare STMRs such as Yunalesca STMR or Duty to the World original Luna Freya STMR. Those are the ones you'll be using again here. And now, the Elric brothers. I am fully expecting that we will get the Full Metal Alchemist raid collaboration event in February. The event was it came pretty much right after Faris on the JP server, and there's no reason for us not to get the Elric brothers or the Full Metal Alchemist stuff too. So, I know the Elric brothers are super hyped up among the community, and I can see why. So the Trustmaster material is super strong, as is already 75% Demon Killer, rather rare, physical only though, mind you. And 30% attack when wearing fists. Their Super Trustmaster is an accessory, which is cool. We haven't had many accessory Super Trustmasters lately. 45 attack, 45 spirit, and 50% lightning, fire, water, earth resist. And they also decrease magic points used by 50%, although it is only for themselves. But still, that is a really strong Dark Visions accessory. Vision card, 50 base attack at level 1, 100 at level 10. The passives, unconditional 30% attack at level 4 and 7 at 50% LB damage increase, but for FMA only. In base form, the Elric brothers are SR chainers and physical earth attackers. In shift form, they are literal imbue bots. They can imbue fire, water, lightning, and earth, and they are super strong LB finisher. And they use bolting strike in their brave shift. So how good are they? They are attack chainer, mind you. They have a very, very good Trustmaster and a superb Trustmaster for Dark Visions. Highly flexible, 4 elements, again, fire, ice, lightning, wind. And strong LB finisher. They have amplifications, 15%, and imbues for the whole party. So the 4 elements that they can imbue, fire, ice, lightning, wind, they can imbue that to the whole party, and they also amplify 15% to the aforementioned elements to the party as well. And they can also imperil element. The 2 elements they imperil are lightning and wind only. So if you imbuing ice or fire, you need outside sources of imperils. The bad thing about them, I don't like only 60% attack vision cards. This is a little. It's not that much. Another downside of their 4 imbues is that they imperil themselves when imbuing the party. They only have 50% innate LB damage, so most of the materials you'll be using, or equipment slots, is going to be capping LB damage. And their LB is very expensive at 50 LB crystals. Yikes. If you thought last gen is already expensive, And these guys are even more expensive. So should you pull? Well, the short answer is yeah, you could. They are the strongest tag LB finisher there is out now. Their LB is a 2-hit though. So it's not a one-off, it is 2 hits, but I'd still consider this a finisher and not a chainer. I mean, we all of us called Ibarra an LB finisher, but she also has 2 hits on her LB. So I think it's fair to call them an LB finisher as well. The Elric brothers have very high sustained damage, but just slightly below extern Cleome. They got an awesome STMR and a really good awesome TMR and a really good STMR. So the conclusion is that the Elric brothers are a good investment. You won't regret it at all, and their flexibility on the elements, especially for dark visions, makes them highly valuable. However, you will need outside sources of Imperil when you're using something else other than Earth or Lightning. So keep that in mind. Again, very sound investment. I will pull for them with tickets only though. I don't want to use Lapis. I can manage without them, but I'd like to have the Elric brothers from tickets. That's what I'm saving them up for. I'm at, I believe, 120 already. Next up, this one's a wild card because King Bradley, the global server already has King Bradley. So it is going to be very curious to see how Gumi handles this. The sprite is literally the same, but the Neo Vision King Bradley, the JP server god, has a different Trustmaster, different Super Trustmaster. I'm not sure how they are gonna do it. So it'll be interesting to see. So the King Bradley, the JP server god, has an accessory as a Trustmaster reward, 48 attack, 100% blind resistance, and 50% attack when he's wearing a sword. And his Super Trustmaster is a sword with 100 attack. 100? I think I made so many mistakes this time around. I might actually correct this. If it's more than 100, I will write the correct value just over here. And 30% evasion. I know for a fact that this is correct. He's got 30% evasion on his sword, but I believe the attack amount is wrong. We'll see about that. His vision card is literally the same. So this is when the JP server, I believe, started using only one vision card for 2 units they release, which I think is a dumb concept, but what have you. So literally the same as the Elric brothers. In his base form, King Bradley is a physical tank with human killers. He chains Stardust Ray. And in his Brave Shift, he's an LB finisher with Stardust Ray and Aurora Ray chains. So how good is King Bradley? He's got a good STMR and a nice STMR for evasion tanks. He's got 90% physical and general mitigations. However, huge downside, it lasts only 1 turn and has 3 uses per battle. He also has a perfect dispel, but again, this is on a Magnus single cast, uses 3 uses per battle. The bad, when it comes to damage dealing, he's considerably weaker than Neo Vision Awakened Reagan. Reagan is coming with Mazurka, and that is pretty soon. And when it comes to burst, King Bradley is barely stronger than NVA Reagan. It's actually 0.5% stronger. That is literally nothing. It's not even 1% stronger than NVA Reagan, and you're pulling on a Neo Vision base unit here, or 0.005 for non-EU people. I don't think the Americans use the 0.x values and rather use 0.005. I'm not sure, but that's what I heard. Anyway, it's not even a percent stronger than NVA Reagan. And he only has, meaning Bradley only has a 150 LB damage boost in shift, which is rather weak. So, should you pull? If we have to pull. No. Just get NVA Reagan and go on with your day, because King Bradley is a waste of Lapis, from my point of view. His damage is below NBA Reagan in terms of sustained output and barely above him in best case burst scenarios. His tanking is bare bones and he won't last long for longer battles such as Ashura, for example. If the fight is lasting 3 turns, yeah, well, he's okay. He has 90% general and physical mitigation, but that's all about it. The faster this is over, the better for him, but longer trials, he's gonna die. So, in conclusion, he's a total dud pull on the FMA burner. But keep in mind, we already have King Bradley on the global server, and I have no clue how Gumi is going to handle this one. We'll see about that. So, one new thing I am doing on this one is my release prediction. So, I'm fully expecting or hoping that Gumi does not do the dumb thing and release Mazurka next week, and instead just finishes the Final Fantasy XIII event thing. So meaning we should get the snow raid next week, which would make sense because FMA is also a raid. And having raids back to back wouldn't be a smart idea. So imagine having Snow's raid on March 11th. It would continue until March 18th, and on March 25th we'd have another raid. So that doesn't make any sense, and that is why I think on Tuesday we're gonna get news of the snow raid, and on March 11th we will Gumi is going to release the Mazurka story event. On March 18th we will for sure get Faris mocking, and on March 25th we are gonna get the FMA collab. So yeah, that pretty much concludes the video. I'm sorry for the mistakes I made on the slides. Should have seen this earlier. I will check whether this is correct or not, but yeah. I will check more thoroughly the NVA slides now, because that's the next video I'll be recording. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see in 4 weeks whether all my predictions were correct. Have a nice day. Catch you in the next one.